Hello, this is the African Tech Roundup. Welcome to episode 24 for the week ending Monday, September 28th, 2015. As always, we round up the week's most important technology, digital, and innovation news from across the African continent. I'm Andile Masuku, and my co-host with the most, as always, is Tefo Mogapi. How's it, dude?
Hello! I'm just kidding.
Hey, that's my thing, bro.
I'm practicing for next week. You won't be here.
I can't wait to see who you're gonna get to join you. You better miss me. Everyone listening better miss me because I will be back.
No, it's all good. How you doing?
I'm cool, man. I'm cool. Really, I am. And listen, to you listening, if in the off chance you aren't a regular listener, head straight to africantechroundup.com to catch up on what you've been missing, man. And while you're there, sign up for our weekly newsletter and get the podcast sent straight to your inbox every Monday.
Also, you can check us out on Twitter. At African Roundup is the handle. And check us out also on Facebook and talk to us at facebook.com/African Tech Roundup. And you can also comment on our website at africantechroundup.com.
We'd love to hear from you. So, a little later on in this week's show, we'll be talking about the rise of ad blockers and the proliferation of fake online media traffic. But first, this week's African Tech Roundup is brought to you by Imagination Info Solutions. Now, Imagination is an information management and consulting company that helps businesses create reports that are both meaningful and insightful. Reports that actually assist business people make good, solid, data-driven decisions that impact the bottom line. Trying to extract data using internal IT teams can be helpful, but sometimes the backlog of work that IT faces means that they're just not in a position to get you what you need right away, leaving you to try and build your own reporting solutions. Not unless you're an Imagination client. Visit imagination.co.za to find out how Richard Bezuidenhout and his team can help your business and learn firsthand why clients are raving about their information management solutions. So today's listener comment is from Cape Town-based digital manager and blogger Rousseau Nel. Here's his take on what might have led to the failure of the Altec node as covered in last week's episode.
So when you look at the Altec node, my guess of what went wrong is that the technical team had way too much influence on what the product is and how it's portrayed to the public. They lost sight of the main benefit of the product because the engineers and developers were so proud of the device. When you look at the adverts for Node, I think the problem becomes even more obvious. There's one web ad that has this long paragraph saying that the Node is a streaming server, an e-commerce platform, a VoIP solution. Those are all internal technical terms. It's not the way you describe a product to the public. Then there's also that video ad with the smug handsome guy. The overall tone of that ad it's quite creepy, I think. It's like a family split into different rooms and showing you all the things you can control with the Node. Who are they making this for? Is it for tech-savvy dads with controlling tendencies? I'm sure there are people that this would appeal to, but I imagine it's a niche market. It's not a mainstream consumer thing. And if you compare the Node adverts to the way that Netflix portrays its products, you can see the difference. Netflix web ads have a photo of a group of people on a couch having a great time. In big text it says, watch TV shows and films anytime, anywhere. See there, it's about the benefit, it's what you get from it. It's not like a long list of features.
Now, if you'd like us to include your audio comment on any of the topics we've covered, you can email us using hello@africantechroundup.com or give us a shout on Facebook or Twitter. And now for the news. First up, JSE-listed technology group Altron is back in the headlines for a second week in a row. Now, last week we covered the unfortunate demise of the Altec Node VOD device and its accompanying services. Now Altron is poised to sell its Altec Autopage subscriber base to Vodacom, MTN and Cell C for a whopping estimated at least $108 million US.
Wow, that's not bad. I don't think this is bad news for them, depending on how how it pans out. I'm just interested to find out if they'll be laying off people or if staff will be moving over. They're saying that the disposal is subject to conclusion of certain service levels, which makes sense, of prepaid services running out with them, and hence have receivable services and escrow agreements, and it still awaits board approval. But I see it happening.
Well, I mean, they have admitted that this money will be handy to reduce the group's debt and restore cash to the company's balance sheet, cash they no doubt lost on projects like the Node. I'm sure the board should look at this thing and see the sense in it.
Yeah, I think it's a good move from their side. It'll make them a little bit cash flush, but I wonder what they're going to start playing in terms of the telco and the media space now that the Altec Node is no more and the Autopage business is no more.
Basically, they were holding on to these contracts that are delivering less and less value to them because of all, the cuts in termination rates and, all these deflationary pressures that are happening within the mobile industry. And so, I mean, they were looking at this book of business, and with it diminishing in value, might as well serve it right back to the people who technically own the customer.
I guess the business model doesn't make sense. I mean, this follows hot on the steps of Nashua Mobile, which is similar business model as Altron Autopage, shut down. So, yeah, it makes sense.
Right, well, to Ethiopia next, where that country's citizens are ringing in the new year in style with the launch of what's being hailed as Sub-Saharan Africa's first light rail network.
Interesting. What is a light rail network?
That's a very good question. I looked into it, and it turns out light rail has to do with how much traffic the network can carry at any given time in any given direction. My first question was, how can you say that when we've got the Gautrain in South Africa, and apparently the Gautrain is a lot higher capacity. It doesn't quite count as a light rail network. I'm not sure if there are any engineers out there, anyone in the field who can shed more light on it. Bottom line is good news for Ethiopia. Great way to ring in the new year, which of course we forgot to wish them Happy New Year because they celebrate theirs on September 12th. This Chinese-made rail network is good news for Ethiopia because from what I understand, traffic in Addis Ababa is ridiculous.
Yeah, interesting, but for a very low capacity, low traffic rail network, it's pretty expensive, looking at $474 million project.
32 kilometers of line. 32 kilometers doesn't sound like a lot. Quite a few stops along the lines. It's expected to carry 15,000 people per hour in a single direction and could attain 4 times that amount if it went in different directions. But I believe there's a single line for the moment. Top speed, 70 kilometers an hour, not terribly fast, but still something that I think should take pressure off the road network.
Definitely, but look guys, don't take me too seriously. This is a good project and I'm sure it will improve transportation in Ethiopia.
Nigeria's been talking about getting one of their own. The Lagos Rail Mass Transit on hold, delays. There was a deadline, September 2014 was missed. Word is 13 odd light rail networks across Africa now in construction. This is a good trend. Big up to Ethiopia for actually making a plan and getting it done.
Yep, and this is apparently the first one in Sub-Saharan Africa, right?
Turns out, quite a few in North Africa. Turns out, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, you've been enjoying this for a while. But first one down south, South Africa could use some, I think.
We got the Gautrain and they've already got plans of expanding it across Gauteng.
I'm a huge fan. Look forward to that. Following recent exits from Greece and Turkey, Groupon has just announced several other countries it will be withdrawing from, including Morocco.
Yep, and they'll be downsizing 1,100 jobs worldwide, which makes me question all these Silicon Valley valuations of companies and valuing them as they raise rounds of funding in the hundreds of millions or billions.
Well, there were certain numbers. They obviously took their investors to their investors as proof of traction and with promises of being able to roll out clones all over the world with success, and clearly not quite working in Morocco, Panama, the Philippines, Puerto Rico, Taiwan, Thailand, and Uruguay. I'm thinking the Philippines, a huge, I wouldn't go as far as saying a huge mobile first market, but certainly a huge mobile market, incredibly large population. If Groupon can't make it work there, goodness knows where it can.
Well, I just feel sorry for South African employees of Groupon South Africa. Maybe they should start looking for jobs.
Hey, who knows? Well, all the best there. I'm sure there's great talent that will find its way to other places. All the best to all of those jobs being cut. Well, to Kenya now, where MultiChoice seems to have heard the cries of Kenya's affluent minority and added more channels to their premium Compact Plus and Compact DSTV packages, which kick in on the 1st of October.
Interesting. First, we need to note they didn't drop prices. They were never going to drop prices.
Nah, this is Naspers, guys. No one's going to push Naspers around, let's be honest.
So they added channels which probably fraction of the costs. They can still cover the cost with what they charge. And the channels, they said they're adding channels like CBeebies for kids. Whee! Teletubbies, that's all I can think of.
That's all I know. BBC Lifestyle, BBC Brit. Now that's for you. That's if you're on Compact, okay, you cheapo.
Yeah, I don't watch DSTV. I don't have it.
I don't have it either, so I'm being really silly. Okay, so look, so basically 3 channels being added if you're on Compact, and then you can look forward to an open week apparently from the 28th of September to the 2nd of October. That's an open week for Comedy Central. This obviously to celebrate Trevor Noah's takeover of the Daily Show, and we hope it does well. Alas, no English Premier League, guys.
Hunger strike, maybe?
Yeah, maybe you guys can, I don't know, threaten to starve yourselves and see what DSTV does next.
No, but they've got this down to the T. I mean, they're not dropping prices. They're getting people hooked. They're saying, okay, we won't drop price of the product, but we'll entice you with other 3 more channels on the Compact side. And we'll still not give you the one that you want, which is the English Premier League. But hopefully you'll upgrade and get a better... Yeah, I don't understand Kenyans and wanting to do this, but perhaps the next story will give them a bit of hope.
Kenyan ISP cable company, Come Mobile Network, Zuku, has reportedly slashed prices to take advantage of all the disgruntlement around DSTV's increased subscriptions. And apparently they're trying to consolidate ahead of the rumored set-top box that Safaricom is going to launch. I'm just hoping that if Safaricom has that in mind, they've learnt their lessons from the Altic Node.
I hope so. I hope they're also thinking of generating content. I mean, I was interesting enough having a Twitter interview or chat last week with Startup Edge South Africa, and they asked me what trends or where will the next unicorn. I hate that term.
I don't like this. The unicorns, like okay, let's just move on.
Anyway, where the next $1 billion company in Africa will come from, and if you even look or listen to the past episodes of African Tech Roundup, you'll realize that telco, media, and fintech are what will most probably generate the next $1 billion company. And Zuku also plays into that. And that's why I say I hope Safaricom, if they want to, are playing in the media space. And I saw recently, talking of telcos generating content, Project Isizwe advertised the role for a content manager, which gives you a little bit of a heads up on where they're thinking.
Also quite interesting are the kind of knocks on the door we're getting around creating content and definitely distributing it a lot more effectively than people seem to be trying to do themselves.
Oh yeah, definitely. So if you're young or even if you're old and you're looking to get into tech, 3 fields really: fintech, media, telco. Telco's probably out because you need a lot of money to put that infrastructure in. Fintech, a lot of regulation. But if you've already played in that space, maybe you want to start. Or if you're good with Bitcoin, maybe you want to go in there, which leaves you with media. But then you come up against us.
And we crush you, buddy.
Just go get a job. It's cool.
I'm kidding. Please come. Join us. There's lots of space here in Africa. All you bright sparks, get something started.
No, it's all good. But it's interesting what Zuku is doing, given what happened to the Altec node, and we'll watch that closely.
Right, to South Africa now, where a recent global survey commissioned by Vodafone and conducted by YouGov has revealed that 1 in 5 South African teens have been bullied online.
Interesting. Before I make my comment, let's look at the stats. South Africa was ranked 4th highest after New Zealand, which had 30%. The US had 27%, and Ireland had 26% of their children saying they've been cyberbullied before. And children surveyed in the Czech Republic and Spain were found to be the least likely to have personally been bullied on the internet, with only 8% responding yes. This is quite interesting, but my view is always that the internet is not what makes this happen. It's just an enabler. It probably makes this happen faster. So whatever has been happening in real life in these, and when I mean real life, I mean off the internet, it's just being transferred onto the internet. So probably we have a bullying problem in South Africa and not just a cyberbullying problem.
That's true. I mean, if you take into consideration how News24 basically shut down anonymous comments on their website in favor of Facebook, where you actually have to say who you are in order to say something, and they filter them, so your comments may or may not be filtered to the top. I asked just tongue-in-cheek the other day on LinkedIn, so guys, where does hate live now? And people responded, it's on Business Day Live, it's on IOL. It turns out people will not be hindered from being horrible trolls on the internet so long as the internet exists.
So there you go. So we do have that problem in South Africa, whether it's on the internet or off the internet. The internet just makes it easier, but it's worrying.
It's really sad because again, some of the information we get from the survey is that 1 in 5 teens have let this affect them and keep them from going to school. Some of them have had to close down their social media accounts, which I don't consider such a disaster, quite frankly, a first world problem. But more disturbingly, 40% have admitted that they haven't told their parents or guardians about what's going on because they feel ashamed. It almost doesn't feel real enough or important enough to bring up. And I know for this generation, is it Generation Z? I don't know what comes after Generation Y. It's Z, right? So yeah, I don't know. I suppose for Generation Z, you've got children who are obviously digital natives, and a great deal of their self-worth, or at least where they derive their sense of person from, is on the internet. If it's being compromised in any way, could have lasting consequences on these kids.
Yeah, and they live in a very image-conscious age, given the social media trend. So when something happens on the internet, it almost feels like real life. So if somebody tells them something or bullies them online, it transfers to real life, as the survey shows.
Probably an indictment on the standard of parenting across the world, especially in South Africa, given how high we rank here. But again, let me not preach, all right? So, but finally staying with South Africa, according to a Times Live report, the infamous Twitter personality, the Pig Spotter, has been revealed as a certain 33-year-old Cliff Ricardo Santos Pinto of Lambton in Germiston, Johannesburg. Now that's really specific, and it's courtesy of our friends over at Times Live.
Interesting. There's been cries that he shouldn't have been outed. His identity shouldn't have been, because he does some civil good, telling people where roadblocks are, where police are, etc. But I'd like to ask, is it legal to tell people how to avoid officers of the law?
This guy started in 2010, basically, and I was a follower. I have to initially. I have to be honest. You speak to a moral debate, which I think
a legal debate,
which in my world is a moral debate, because it really came down to, is this right or wrong? And it's probably wrong for me. But anyway, listen. So he starts off by tipping off motorists about traffic and roadblocks. And the thing is, in South Africa, there's this whole thing around traffic cops who basically set up speeding roadblocks in places that they're not designated to do so. And because most consumers don't really question this practice, they get all these tickets, and it creates a whole lot of revenue for municipalities and things like that. And of course, this is his Robin Hood reason for doing it. But really what it came down to effectively was telling everybody who was a follower of his account where all the roadblocks were and where all the cops were, even in places where it was legal, and that probably wasn't right. And look, the Metro Police Department in Johannesburg threatened to take him to court for defeating the ends of justice. That didn't work out because they went to Twitter, and Twitter wouldn't give up his address and his name. And then in 2010, a docket against him was actually sent to the Director of Public Prosecutions. That didn't work. It reportedly took a dispute with some guy for him to be outed in legal papers. And if it really is him, his life is about to change, and it's not for the better, I'm sure.
Yeah, how it came out, if I understand correctly, is that this guy had an accident, and it is alleged that this guy bumped a motorbike rider.
So Pig Spotter hit the motorbike rider?
No. This guy who outed him.
Right.
Bumped a motorbike.
Right.
The rider passed away.
That's very sad.
It is alleged that the guy who bumped him drove away from the scene. He ended up, and this was revealed on Pig Spotter's account, allegedly that he wasn't at the scene. So now, obviously, it's an accident. It has to go to court. Now, the guy who's being accused of killing the motorbike rider is saying that, one, he didn't bump him, firstly, and secondly, he's outed Pig Spotter's identity, which makes for interesting discussion, because if Pig Spotter was making all those revelations, if he was called to testify in court, his identity would have been outed anyway.
And also, all the murky world of the internet and how it needs to be regulated, this just adds to the complexity of that debate, because at the end of the day, Pig Spotter is being accused of defamation. We often on the show like to say that the internet is the one place where we should be allowed to be who we need to be without, being forced to identify ourselves. And, the thing is, when that premise is pushed to its nth, there are problems like some stranger could accuse you of something you didn't do, and you'd need to, you need the law to be able to get yourself off the hook if that was what was necessary.
Yeah, that's fine. That's why I don't understand the outrage against Pig Spotter's identity being outed, because he outed, without any legal proceedings, outed another guy as having killed a motorbike rider, but he has a problem with his identity being outed. So who's right, who's wrong? So if he wants, my rule is that if you're gonna dish out something, you must be ready to take it as well.
Well, yeah, in this case, bacon for lunch.
Yeah, and I have
bacon for breakfast.
Bacon for everything, and I have a problem with him calling cops pigs. Come on.
That wasn't cool. That's where the name comes from, by the way. If you weren't aware, he basically called cops pigs, and Spotter, you put it together. Yeah, not very tasteful. But hey, speaking of traffic, okay.
Well, probably tasteful. I mean, it's bacon.
Well, I do not do the bacon thing, pork, no doubt. So not for me, for you perhaps.
Okay, for me.
No, speaking of traffic, though, there's a whole hoo-ha at the moment with what's being widely regarded now as the proliferation of fake display ad bot views. And online media peddlers bemoaning the fact that ad blockers are just ruining their lives at the moment. Let's talk about this.
This was a long time coming, and yeah, it was a long time coming, but let's break it down a little bit. In terms of ad blockers, what's happening now with the release of Apple's iOS 9 is that there's a proliferation of apps that they've allowed on the App Store that block ads, literally, on news, content, and content sites. They can't block ads in-app, like inside an app, but they can block ads on websites. So if you're viewing a website on your iPhone, on your iPad, on a MacBook, they will block the ad. Even Apple News does that. Their new product, new service that curates news. So you can block ads that way. And there's been an outcry by publishers, online publishers, that this is taking food out of their mouths, taking their bread away, etc., etc. Then you've got the other side of the coin, which is fake display ad viewers or fake video ad viewers, fake banner ad viewers and clicks, etc., which obviously, I mean, without proof, you would think that this is publishers running bots to generate views and clicks so that they can earn more from advertisers.
So say you're a digital ad agency X and you have sold a campaign to brand Y, and you've sort of guaranteed a certain response rate on that campaign, maybe promised them 1 million views on YouTube. Given the technologies out there, you are now in a position to program those results.
Yeah, I mean, Financial Times reported last week that almost 25% of all ad clicks and views are fraud, are bots. That's about $6 billion in 2014. That's a lot of money.
You know what, I've actually experienced the ad blocker thing. I'd be watching YouTube, and when an ad came along, it would silence it. The ad would play, but it would silence it. And I actually had to physically turn up the volume again when the ad was over. So I don't know what that was doing, because I didn't even opt in for that. So I'm really confused by this whole thing. And being in the media space ourselves, we're realizing how our specific new media positioning as podcasting producers puts us in quite a unique position to avoid this whole thing.
It does, but interesting enough, it gets worse than that silencing of YouTube. In terms of text content, literally banner ads get removed with ad blockers. You won't see them at all. So the publishers don't get to have what you call CPM, cost per milli, so people don't view them. If you can't view it, obviously you can't click it. So it removes all those banner ads or display ads, and all you have is the content. And that's what they're complaining about. But you might say, oh, but that should make me sad. But I'm quite happy about that, because that removes the lazy. Because you were starting to get a lot of people who are generating, sort of recreating a lot of content and becoming lazy just to get traffic so that people can view their ads and click on their ads. So these are like content farms. So an article breaks out on news site X. They've got the full details. News site Y decides that we're going to rewrite it, and at the bottom we'll say as reported on that site, and they rephrase everything and summarize everything as if they were there, but they were not. And some of these sites do that for every piece of content they have, not just one or two. They do it, and they don't just use the other sites as sources, but they'll do it for whole articles, 20, 30, 40, hundreds a day, and that's how they make money. So I'm very happy, because this removes their laziness, and it brings back the debate about quality content onto the internet.
I'm thinking of sites like Upworthy, BuzzFeed. It's interesting. BuzzFeed's quite an interesting one because we're huge fans of its founder here on the show. Off the mic at least. And it's interesting how he's been speaking lately about the importance of creating your own content. Perhaps he might have had inside information about how stuff might pan out. I mean, I'm thinking about things being as basic as if you are a YouTube creator at the moment who relies on the revenue you are getting from that whole YouTube system. I mean, it basically cuts you out completely from creating money in that way.
Yep, definitely does. I mean, BuzzFeed is a good example. They do native advertising, which is non-intrusive, but it gets the publisher to think about how to create content, which is sponsored, which is an advert, but it still speaks to the user in a way that they'd love to read it or view it.
But at the heart of their business was initially just repurposing content or finding trends to sort of just reintroduce to audiences in a myriad of different ways.
They do repurpose content, but they curate it quite well. I mean, it takes some creativity to do the listicles that they do. I know a lot of people hate them, but if you look at the listicles, it's not like it was already trending somewhere else. Yes, it's pieces of content that exist somewhere else, but they don't exist in the same spot. So they'll pull and come up with a list of, I saw this week something like man buns, like men's hair buns. I can't do it. I've got afro, dude.
Who needs buns?
My whole hair's a bun. So they had like 21 man buns things, but this was never a single article. So they pulled famous people from different places, and so they do repurpose content, but they're not lazy repurposing content. I think they'll survive for a very long time to come. The problem is guys who repurpose specifically text content literally as it is.
Who's to blame for this, and who's up to it? Who's doing it?
I mean, it's clear we don't have proof who's doing the fake ad views and the fake ad clicks, but you need to look at who benefits from that, and that's publishers. So if they get like a 2 million, 30 million ad views that are fake or ad clicks that are fake, they benefit. So they can't be crying and saying, no, we don't know anything about it. It seems, and without proof, it seems that some publishers, some big ones too, are generating bots or hiring bots to send fake traffic to their sites to view their ads and to click on their ads. And I've heard news of some African, especially old print media guys who've just come online, using the same tactics of you buying traffic to their sites.
So you're speaking about publishers in a traditional sense. I'm saddened by this somewhat because I have very often vehemently argued for considering online media and its consumption at par or not even superior to a certain extent to traditional media. But it almost feels like with these kind of things dirtying the waters, TV sounds like a good deal.
TV is still a bad deal. I mean, TV is you don't know exactly how many people are viewing. They've got formulas and.
Well, you've got bots involved now, so you don't know whether your stuff is being viewed by real people.
I don't think you can have a bot watching TV. There's no ways. Yes, you can have a program, a piece of software going through to a website because that registers. But with TV, they don't even know how many people are watching a TV show. So it still doesn't make it appealing. But for me, what this boils down to is I think there was a lot of old media influence when things went online. So the whole display ad thing, maybe a bit of history as far as I know it. At first, you had pop-up ads. So you'd visit a website and a new window would pop up with an ad. It still happens on some sites, not all sites. So initially in the early 90s, this is as far back as I can go. I'm sure that people can go way before that. You'd have ads pop up as you visited a site, and it will be, that's very intrusive. Then what happened is browsers, by default, and it still exists, if you check your browser, whether Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Firefox, it has a pop-up block setting.
That's right.
That's like an ad blocker, and they were generated simply because there were pop-up ads. And I don't remember an outcry like we're having now, but those pop-ups were ads, all of them. So you visit a site, a pop-up would come in a new window, and that was very irritating. Browsers, by default, created a pop-up setting where, by default, it would switch it off. You could enable it if you wanted to, because very small amount of sites would pop up something useful that you needed to sign on or something like that. But the UI has become much better, so there's no more pop-ups. So that fell away. You didn't see pop-up ads. Then guys started thinking about banner ads, so you can't shut it down. So it's in your face, it's on the site, you have to view it, it registers as you viewing it, and sometimes you might just click on it depending on how well it looks or if it interests you or not. And now we see the ad blockers, which to me is very similar to the pop-up blocker setting on browsers. And Apple have taken the lead on this and say, yeah, we're going to block that. And I agree with them.
All right, well, we want to hear from you, publishers. What's your beef? What's your problem with this thing? Because it sounds to me like all Apple want to do is give us a great listening or viewing experience or reading experience, and you guys just want to make money at our expense. We're not up to it. So if you're out there, Mr. Publisher, and you Miss Publisher, and you want to give us a shout about why this is such a, such an unfair thing for Apple to be promoting, please let us know.
Just one last point. It's how we consume digital content versus how we consume print. With print, obviously, you buy the physical publication and you view it with the ads included. With digital, you pay before you get online. Hence, we've had this debate before with music, where people felt that I already paid for the data to download the music. It's a 10 meg file. I'm already going to pay 2 rands or 10 US cents, whatever it is, but I'm already paying a cost, and on top of that, you want to charge me. So people feel this sense, or consumers feel the sense of entitlement, which you might say is an ethical debate or a moral debate, but they're already paying and they feel the sense of entitlement that I've got this device that I've paid for, I'm paying to connect to the internet, and I'm going to pay anyway, whether it's text content, video content, to download that content onto my device. And on top of that, you making either the experience crappy by putting ads everywhere, or you want to charge me for the content. So I think it's a challenge to publishers and all of us to find creative ways to generate money out of content.
And what's interesting is a lot of this content is behind paywalls, which again you pay to enter. And then still you're confronted with advertising which you didn't ask for.
Well, with paywall, I think if your content's good enough, you can afford to put up a paywall, and if you've got the traffic, you can afford to put up a paywall. Financial Times is doing that quite well, and I think they're succeeding with that, I think. But it's a debate that will go on for quite a long time to come.
Well, listen, we'd love to hear from you. Are you a consumer of media that is just applauding these changes, loving Apple for what it's doing in encouraging all these ad blocking apps to come online? Or like I said earlier, are you a publisher who's disgruntled, quite frankly? And are you one of those dodgy folks who's manufacturing fake likes and fake follows and fake click-throughs and dishonest views? You're messing it up for everyone, buddy. So if you're under the sound of my voice, please stop. But we'd love to hear from all of you, of course. Give us a shout on Facebook. It's at facebook.com/African Tech Roundup. Or you can hit us up on Twitter using the handle @AfricanRoundup or using the hashtag ATRU.
Once again, this week's African Tech Roundup podcast is brought to you by eMagination Info Solutions. They help businesses create reports that are meaningful and insightful. Reports that actually assist business people make good, solid, data-driven decisions that impact the bottom line. To find out what eMagination can do for your business, visit eMagination.co.za. That's e-magination.co.za, and discover why clients are raving about their information management solutions.
Well, with that said, it's cheers from me, Andile Masu, and of course I can't say it till next week in my case because I won't be here and my heart bleeds. My man Tefo Mahapi will be here to keep it real. Who you'll have on board? Well, we'll have to wait and see, right?
Yeah, I have to tune in to find out. And yeah, we do accept donations. I'm kidding, guys. Cheers.
Cheers. Take it easy.